Okay, this video is about past life regression therapy. I'm trying to be as soft spoken as I can be. This stuff has a lot of liquor in it. So, at the same time as I'm living, I see this grand ceremonial magic of royalty happening, and they are showing the same timelines of seances with the same looks. And is it truly authentic? That is the question. Like my past life regression therapy, at the same time seances, at the same time. Seances are basically when you take up different looks from a person's features and create a different persona with it to present to the world. So it's very much the okay. So at the same timeline, I mean, in the same timeline that I'm breathing, living, working, going live and making YouTube video, and I have my own mundane life. There are the same past life regression therapies happening that are connecting me with the same sort of usual pals I usually hang out with in my most intimate settings. Let's just say that. Close, mentally, emotionally close. So, of course, I will not take away their shine by mentioning my story loudly or boldly or something, because I realize that they are part of my past life regression therapy. I mean, I understand that they are representing me in some ground, moral ground, royal ground, prehistoric ground, or the warfare ground, spiritual warfare ground. So, what matters in the war is that your brain doesn't fall victim to personal stories and give away the large cries of victory to the shaman, old, ancient version of you. However, that looks like on the royal ground. So, this is not about money, jewelry, or even titles, or what do you call it? Authority, significance, or even um, what do you call it? Status. Yeah. This is not about that. This is about the shamanic quality of being present everywhere, being omnipresent, and doing the greatest healing work. And sometimes we become the part of it, sometimes we learn how to do it with the greatest, mightiest hands. And I should be fair enough. I'm lucky enough to be part of that present, that continual present. Because that's what happens when you fall in love. You keep reliving the moment again and again in a loop. And when it's right with the right person, you don't have that guilty feeling that you have to return it to somebody else. If the name keeps appearing of the past love or the ones before you, then you always feel like you have to give it away. Like you have to return it to someone. Like it's something, a borrowed object. It's like someone else's belonging that is kept in your watch for a little time, like a parenting style or something. That's when you become a parent, more like a parent, that you have to take care of a child for a little moment and then eventually return it to whoever it belongs to. So at that maturity level, you don't nurture the relationship as a baby because you treat the other person like a baby. So it's kind of that connection. It becomes that kind of connection, and of course there are complicated complicated relationships where a person has been married before, but they keep returning to you, and the other person also feels like they have to return it to you, and you also feel like you have to return to that person, and it keeps flipping between like baby exchange ceremony between two mothers. So bam. Hit it right where it hurts. King Solomon and the baby test between who the original mother is and who's not. So person A carries cruelty and person B carries empathy. That is the difference. So give it away. Blessings that you think do not belong to you. And of course, I'm no relationship coach, but I understand that sometimes people divorce because there is more of a mutual feeling, connection, and recognition, soul recognition. It feels like you have a future with someone because it goes on and on and on and on, and you feel like your inner child gets a lot of time to be itself, gets a lot of time to express its original nature, and no mask is present there. And it doesn't feel like you have to return to somebody else, like a child left with no devices to a stranger's home. If they miss their home, then you can say that something is missing in your nurturing and care and your appeal, guest appeal, yeah, hosting appeal. But if that child wants to stay more and more and more with you, it's like you can pretty much guess that you should adopt them. No experiments are. So relationships are not experiments, but sometimes you have to understand it that way. That infidelity, like I do understand that there is a sort of a foggy lifestyle that I was a part of, and I can go back to, but with a better understanding of who I am, why would I? That's the question. With a better understanding of the situation, why would I go back to that fog or confusion? The only way someone can allure me back to the confusion and chaos is if whatever clarity I have is restored. I don't think that once we get a glimpse of the clarity we deserve in our soul, it ever can be destroyed. It's like a quality of transparency. It cannot be touched by human hand, not destroyed. It's like a translucent wall, invisible. And suddenly the invisible threads of manipulation becomes into, the invisible threads of manipulation turns into invisible walls, translucent. There are only two sides, male and female. And all the residual processes and complaints. We have seen it all. And yeah, just because you know someone doesn't mean that they can't change. If they do, then too you can change according to that. Like your position can change in the chessboard if that position is changed. Especially if there's a emotional tether between the both aspects. And just take your part of the story and feel how your human self would naturally feel. And it, sometimes we become so dissociated from our sense of self that we forget who we are in the simulation. We understand the synthetic emotions that anybody else's position will feel like, but we have to return back to ourselves and take our part of the story, and whatever resonance point that connected another person to your story, you're that way, you take that route and relate in your brain activity, and with the clean clean sword, you cut away all the unnecessary edges and keep the simple parts. I mean, cut out the drama, the unnecessary, the taunts, the comments, the opinions, all the external things that make us restless and unsettles us from our sense of self and our emotional creativity. And keep only what is keeping us straight, not like a clown, not very embarrassed, because embarrassment comes from another person disappointing us. But when we are straight faced, we understand that we are our own rescue. And eventually, everything in our journey will make sense if we understand the sense of logic. And nothing can hurt a person that has acute sense of self, acute sense of boundaries, and they know where their part starts and ends, and in a sense that is not forged in any way, the original script. Um, yeah, timelines can be manipulated, but the original script demands that we stick to what we know. We stick to what feels right to us, and even if people want to pull away from that, still we are the factor that keeps it bound to bind it to keeps it glued, the matter, the subject. So being a subject is like not a subject as in a title, but being a subject um, in relation to an object, someone. Is all about keeping in touch with your emotions, because that's all that matters. And the unknown part is very simple. I will not pair up my own aspects with my own childhood pals, right? That's white magic. Let's do that, right? Give them the divine clarity that they need. Or rather, let them struggle with the bigger and better. Yes. Have good time mocking me and behind the scenes.